Nona Gunner game for some, a gotcha for many, and a mix-up in between. What the fuck is this intro? For those who don't know, Zenless Zone Zero is a gacha game that takes place in a modern day / futuristic setting that is also in a post or mid-apocalyptic world, taken by these things called Hallows. But, as you can tell from the title of this video, today I'm going to be ranking all the playable agents. Of course, some ground rules first. Firstly, I'm going to be ranking all the agents based on the latest version, which should be version 1.6, where we got Silver Ambi and Trigger. Hi there! So, obviously, with a video like this where you try and do ranking of a live service game, so you try and keep it up to date as possible, it may take a while. May take very long while. So, obviously, I'm just gonna put up whatever on the screen here is currently the update or the latest patch. That also means that I won't be able to rank every character. Obviously, this video eventually needs to come out. So that means I won't be able to rank these confirmed characters that are currently confirmed right now. If I were to add them in the list, I feel like some of these would be high, while others would be probably in the middle range. And lastly, I am going to rank Silver Ambi and Regular Ambi as two different characters. While their story will be the exact same, both the game and the developers have stated that their combat and gameplay are different. Hence why I'm going to be separating them into two characters. Anyway, let's get back to the video. Second, I'm going to be basing these characters off of two things: general and trust, aka how their gameplay is like and also their story. Thirdly, I'm going to be ranking playable agents only, meaning that I'm going to be excluding Bell and Weiss from the list. However, I will mention where I would rank them in the list once we get to that part. Just simply thought so, you know. And lastly, this is all based on my personal opinion. I know that gacha games are probably not the best thing to rank in general, since they all have a problem with like power creeping, certain character getting more treatment than others, etc, etc. And also, I will start trash talking some characters. So if I put a character you like that is way low on the list than you would rank them at, your fault for having poor taste. With that out of the way, hope you all stay to hear me yap about this for a while. And let's go see out of this couple cast character who I think is the worst. Starting with number 38. I'm gonna be honest, Chief, I don't know anyone who actually played Piper, and even if they do, I bet they're gonna throw her away the moment they get someone else. Piper is part of the Son of Caledon faction, who is also the trucker for them. Yes, this lolly is a trucker girl. If you're new to this with anime, welcome aboard. Honestly, I don't really have much to say about her, other than the fact that I don't like this character. Let's go take a look at her for a minute. Like I mentioned before, she is the trucker for the Son of Caledon, and there's not really much to her story. All we really know about her story is that she's actually an old lady. How old? It's one of those tropes where the character look like a child, but they actually like older than their look. Such as talking about her experiences over the years that usually are in similar turn of back in my day. So there's not really much story with her. Well, technically speaking, there is also an extra thing, which is the whole trucker aesthetic and how much she loves her trucks and whatnot. But I didn't brought that up because I felt like that's just obvious based off the design alone. Hell, even when she would put up with Bernice in her special story, she didn't really have much to add with her personality. It's still the same old, oh, I have experienced this before. Of course, that isn't just all with her when it comes to characters, such as obviously since she's supposed to be like a country girl and a trucker driver, which there is a bunch of fan animation and fan art in portraying that, along with the game itself. But besides that, again, I don't really like this character, especially how I don't like the lolly character. Even if they do provide good gameplay or good support, it's never a good look when the character are lollies. I will say as a good thing about her is that she can do her job as well. She is a Nami class, meaning that she can apply debuff and buff on your enemies, in this case physical. But so like, everyone else in this cast can do their job as well if not better than her. Besides just, ooh, I can become a Beyblade. I will choose literally anyone else other than her. You will have to pay me to play her. She doesn't do anything for me. Let's just move on to the next character already. Number 37. Coin is part of the Victoria housekeeping faction. Just like with Piper, I don't think she add that much, but I do like her just a bit over Piper. Okay, let me first explain. 1. She's an actual child who stated that she's a child. She doesn't do the typical I look like a lolly but I'm actually older role. Second, I love her weapon mainly because it reminds me of Bloodborne. which is not going to be the only time a character is high on this list because of their weapon. Obviously, if you have a pizza cutter as a weapon, you would use that pizza cutter to cut their inside out. That's where her cons start to come in. Where basically, the only special move you have is just simply how long you can use the pizza cutter on your enemy. Okay, I really gotta stop saying pizza cutter. Her weapon is more like a buzzsaw, and her EX special is supposed to be her meter of how long she can put it inside someone's body. Basically, as long as I have EX meter, I can keep holding down the triangle button and keep sawing at their body until that meter runs out. But sadly, that's really about it with her gameplay, which sucks because I feel like if they add more to her gameplay, this would make her character a lot better. As when it comes to her character, she's supposed to be the socially shy and anxious teenager who is honestly just trying to do her best. But yeah, I think Courier is just fine. She could really just use an update to her move kit. As for her story, I think it's alright. I would honestly like to see her more in story because I feel like there's good potential there. Besides for her being known as the socially anxious or person who says sorry all the time. Number 36. Ben Bigger. Ben Bigger is part of the Bellabon industry, and honestly, he's a nice guy. There's honestly not really much added to him really. Just simply chill, hang out, and like nice interaction with him here or there. He actually the accountant for the faction, which is funny because he make up one of 2 agents that are accountant for their own factions. But beside that, really all his story contribute all towards with his bond with Colada and everyone else in the faction. Honestly, you could say the same for everyone, but the difference that make Ben Bigger nice is just simply look at this cutscene, man.
Oh, hello there, Mr. Proxy. Sorry you had to see something like this so soon after getting here. Our president has been waiting for you. Please.
Huh? He's such a kind-hearted bear. As for gameplay, he's part of the Defender class, which is basically mean that he's supposed to be the tank/juggernaut for your team. Now, fun fact actually about this, when the game first came out, he was the only defender of the game. And honestly, it's pretty alright. The gameplay he provide are obviously heavy hitting and whatnot, and quite neat that you can actually counterattack with his shield or block some attack, but overall, not much to the defender really. He's there to help tank damage whenever you need it. I have a whole theory on how the development of these defender character goes. First they developed Ben Bigger, which obviously they needed a defender class. Then they try again with another agent and they were getting better at it. Then they made the third defender completely broken to the point where they peaked at that one. Overall, not bad. This is honestly for me a whatever pick. I don't really have much to say about this. Honestly, there haven't been so far a character beside Piper that made me really upset yet. I apologize for any mispronunciation. Pen Yin Yoon is alright. Pen is part of the Yunquin Summit, one of the newest faction that came out with Season 2, and also one of the strongest to be honest. Serving the faction as both its head chef as well as financial manager for their Shunbian temple, Pen is again, alright character. When he was growing up, he had no kin due to the amount of scarcity of Panda Thyran in New Eridu. By the way, the Thyran in this game are basically the animal race / hybrid animal race. So if you see any of these characters on screen, they're usually Thyrans. Because of this, he would have to learn how to fend for himself and later become a Hollow Raider, usually raiding for scraps that he can sell for money for food since he was always going hungry. Then one day, he would have a chance encounter with Ishuran's Shifu. Shifu was just trying to ask for direction, but Pen took this at her trying to steal his item, which led to a fight with Pen ultimately losing and passing out in the hollow. Once he woke up, he learned that Shifu took him back to the temple to rest, and offered him to join the Yunquin Summit faction, which he happily applied. Here, this would let him to start creating meal for the temple, therefore becoming the head chef. So his story is pretty decent, but when it comes to his gameplay, it's really quite simplified, but in a bad way. He only really had one moveset that honestly doesn't do that much damage nor provide him many options. And he have a whole gimmick that only solely on helping for assist. Basically, when you get his meter full and switch out, he will attack the enemy on the field while you have another agent on the field. However, he'll only do this 3 times until then you have to return to him. While his ult does provide a damage increase as well as healing your allies, It doesn't last long, it's not very effective, and you must have an agent out on the field you're playing at in order to heal them, meaning that it doesn't leave a radius behind. You have to actively play an agent to heal, which in a game that is all about movement, it's very detrimental to his character and to his team. I think his character is decent, but when it comes to combat, I feel like he's not that much good of a teammate. Honestly, I could just pick literally anyone else. So how do you think child labor laws work in New Era do? Oh boy, a child soldier! Sukaku is the only support character who is part of the Section 6 faction. Her gameplay is simple and similar to a build-up character, if that makes sense. Basically, you have her weapon or her flag that first start off at half damage because, oh look, you have meter. As you build up meter, your attack becomes stronger, being able to do more damage and also apply more ice. As for her reason of being a child, that's because he actually is a child of war. I will go into more detail with a certain character because her lore is intertwined with another, but all you need to know right now is that Sukaku was part of a war called the Oni War. While she wasn't a soldier in it, her sister was the Oni leader after the passing of her father, who was the original Oni leader. Again, I will go more into more detail about this with a certain character, but all you need to know is that after this war, she later get adopted by one her squad member. Because of this, not only does she become the daughter of one the team member, but also this little sister of the team. This also makes her a valuable team member in lore, because not only can she help her team take out these voids or ethereals, but she also strong enough to take out Sukuna from JJK. And also, she loves food. We're talking about she have a whole diet cone like a dog before eating food. One very important thing to know about Sukaku is that her VA have been changed 3 times in a row, and she wasn't the only one that got her VA changed. Multiple characters had gotten their VA changed. I'm not exactly sure when it started, but all I know is that it had to involve with unions, strikes, and Hoyoverse, and everything in between. But it's best to watch this video by Joe Zia, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. He explained it the best ways possible. Number 33. Now we're getting to some characters that I actually do despise and hate. Grace Howard. Alright, so Grace Howard, what do I not like about her? While her gameplay is also designed to go attack multiple targets, it's not really that effective. Really, she's doing like 3 hits with her nail gun, and honestly that's about it. When it comes for her special attack, which is just grenades, she either can only throw 1 grenade and that's it, or if it have an EX special, she can throw multiple in range. And that's basically about it. Same go for her ult. Honestly, there's not much to her gameplay. And for her story or character, I do not like it. I feel like meeting the bare minimum of making her a special character. You see, the thing that we know about Grace right now is that beside her association with Billabong Industry and her treating Koleda like a sister, I'll get more on that later, when we see her character most of the time outside of the group or not interacting with anyone from that group, when she's usually alone, they go hard on her with the whole loving her machinery aesthetic, to the point where she actually call her machine her kids. Quite honestly, that's really all they have with her. Even in her agent story, her character just feel hollow when she alone, but with other people such like Koleda, because the reason why she treat her as her sister or Sweet Pea is because her father used to run the company, but then her father one day mysteriously passed away and now her daughter had to take hold of it. And since Grace looked up so much to her father, she give her daughter the same respect as her father and treat her like her sister. And they both have this sister dynamic, which is good. It's so good and nice and sweet. That I should also probably say, when this game first was advertised, her whole character, both in-game and outside game, was known for being the gooner bait of this game. And it wasn't because her clothes were revealing or she would get into embarrassing position or whatnot. No, it all revolved around her with feet. Because most of the time, there would be moments where it would focus heavily on her feet. I don't know why this was one way they advertised their game, but for those who don't know, this was basically the predecessor of Bernice before Bernice was a thing. Outside Koleda, her gameplay doesn't provide much and is very lacking, and she's just a one-note character to me. Number 32. Queen Chi, I'm so disappointed in you, god damn it. Alright, let's start with the pros. 1. She's an android slash robot. Pretty cool. Second, despite having her being an android, therefore she sometimes run into the typical tropes of being an android, she does have some good quality and good stories when it comes to just herself, as well as making remark and quip with other characters. Honestly, her agent story not really that bad. The best way to simplify it is that it's about an android learning why people find emotional attachment or sentiment with creatures that aren't really living. The best way to portray this is with a bamboo, which if you don't know, is another robot where they're basically these rabbit robots. Also, this last scene in the story Angel is just so funny because she was never shown carrying the bag of bamboo with her until this moment, and I thought it was so funny because just how conveniently large the bag is. And thirdly, her gameplay. It is quite fun whacking people with staff because, not gonna lie fam, my favorite weapon is the staff. So obviously bonus points to that, but just in general, her gameplay is quite nice. She's able to hit hard and fast at one or multiple targets. Hell, she basically have this one move where she can create a trap to suck enemy in. Or, just let the enemy walk into it and get them sucking in. As for the cons, 1. Lollies. Add that to the list of characters that I can't show to people whenever I advertising this game. But surprisingly, there is an actual in-lore reason why she liked this, which is because a while back, she used to have a more bulky and muscular body, but that was causing a problem for her since it would be hard to arrest a suspect or simply just her doing normal duties such as squeezing through tight places or whatnot. So they decided to switch her body out to help her become more, I guess, acrobatic in a way, the best way I can describe it. So they picked a child body. Dog, there's a normal body you could pick. Why the fuck do you pick a child body for an android? Not just they have to build the android body of a child, they also design her appearance like that. Someone on the police force must be put into prison somewhere. This ain't right, chief. I genuinely don't know why she looked like that. It makes me so sad that she's the only character with a staff. If they were to give another character to reuse a weapon, please make it someone that isn't a lolly to use a staff. Please, I beg you. Hi there, future Courier here. I realized that I made it sound like I'm gonna have multiple cons with this character, when in reality my only gripe is just her design. But if I were to add another con or just explain why I see this low on the list, I just honestly prefer the other option of character. Yes, I am comparing a stun character to an attacker, anomaly, etc. But there are other options you can get with both banner characters as well as the base game characters. So honestly for me, even if it weren't just for her design and she was completely designed differently like a human or a tyrant, and as well as an adult or someone who actually state that they are a kid, not trying to hide it, I'm still gonna rank her this low mainly due to her gameplay and story. Then again, the story would definitely get a drastic change if they were human. I feel like I just need to clarify that. Back to the video. With that out of the way, she also drink tea, which is nice because I drink tea too. I don't know what else to fucking say, man. Number 31.
3, 2, 1, fire!
Burnus is very weird to me. On one hand, I don't really like Burnus that much. I feel like the character design is just 100% Gunner bait, which, yeah, I'm pretty sure that checked out. And also just her being a huge alcoholic, but I think that's just honestly just me not liking alcohol in general, so that I think that could just be a bias thing. But I know for a fact that the thing that disappoints me the most about Burnus is her gameplay. While realistically, her gameplay makes sense. Since this is an action game or a hack and slash, you need to be automatically locked onto your target. You have no time to be precise with your aim, so to make sure it's more casual and fun for every player, and more convenient, you give everyone an automatic lock-on feature, so that way they go target the closest enemy towards them. However, with this design, as well as that they made Burnus more of a close range to mid-range user, only be able to really have that range move with her special ability, it makes me wish that she just had range in general. Obviously, it makes sense that she have the afterburn effect, but that feel necessary, especially since it's a flamethrower. But there's another note of feature that I want with this, such as leaving fire on the battlefield for enemy walk on by any chance. Is this too much to ask? Will this become a more inconvenient for the players? Who knows? But beside her gameplay and the negatives I have with her character, I also really love her character. Like, yes, the whole being nice and heroic is very much overused and will definitely get overplayed the longer this keeps going, but it helps show how kind-hearted in nature she is. Such as in Bernice's episode when she won the lottery and got into a fight with another faction, she used her winnings to help fund the faction. And not only that, she used this opportunity to have a peace treaty with the two. But also her whole energy, which the best described as puppy dog energy, is so nice. Especially when she had pairing with other characters, such as her with Paltrow, where those two are basically best friends. Or the most recent pairing, her and Ambi being advertised as fast food workers. Put the fries in the bag, Bernice. Put the fries in the bag. Despite me being disappointing in her gameplay, her character is quite enjoyable and I can see why people loves her. Like, really love her. Like, calm down. I do want to note one more thing as a side note, is that there have been some comments I saw on Twitter about people complaining the art design or character design of these characters. You see, due to how each character are designed, it can be complicated for artists to draw them. So what some people suggest is that they should remove their clothes for starters. Number 3. Also, is it just me or would Bernice look better with her hair down? Like, please, someone tell me I'm not wrong. Number 30. Now let's get into the character that I do actually like, starting with Rena. Rena is made part of the Rena is part of the housekeeping faction. Rena is... why am I fucking up on Rena? Starting off with her gameplay, she worked like a range fighter, using her 2 bamboo goes to attack. And honestly, that's really about it with her. Besides other passive, all she really have is just range attack. She honestly quite pretty good, not just as a support, but as well as dealing damage for your allies, especially with how fast paced this game can be. The best way I can describe about Rena, imagine her as one of the most kindest people you have ever met. And I think one of the best examples that showed this was through her agent story. Rena does this thing where every year at an organization, she has to go take care of an elderly person at least a week. It's a way to help test how good she is as a maid, which this time she got help with is someone with dementia. And oh my gosh, the story involving a dementia-ridden person, it is done so well and it's so accurate how someone with dementia lives. So seeing Rena having struggled to take care with this person along with how the story developed with the elderly, done so well. Rena is an all-around good character, both story and gameplay. Before I move on or conclude her story, it is well known in the game that one of her special traits or hobbies that she likes to do is cooking. She is dog shit at cooking. On the wiki for her agent detail, it is said here that Rena's favorite hobby is cooking, but only a few individuals are capable of enduring the dishes she prepares. Suggestion: you may try tasting Rena dishes as a test to determine if you are the chosen one. It is so comical that her cooking is so bad that they have been a whole advertisement for her faction showing that she had potentially killed someone over her cooking. There is an Excel sheet chart on this character damage output. Oh my god. Alright, this one gonna need a bit of explanation. Yagami, she is one of the members of this Hen 6, aka the one Sokaku is in, as well as her adopted mother. When it comes to her gameplay, she is an anomaly type character who is also a stance character. As mentioned before, she has a spreadsheet that basically determines how her damage output is, but to quickly summarize everything, she has 2 stances. Both of them provide a buff to her, and when you switch from a different stance, the previous buff will linger on for 8 seconds. So the strategy just simply switch the stance, so that way you have both buff activated, and as soon as the other one about to deactivate, switch again. Get this right, and Yagami will start popping off on their enemies. I will say, despite me basically explaining all this and watching a YouTube video on how she works, I'm still a bit confused on her. Mainly I just keep on attacking and spamming it as this go, seeing which work. But even if you're just spamming her button or actually know how to play her, she can still do heavy damage and provide good comp for your team. Why did I say comp? What? I've been playing too much CSGO, man. It rotting my brain. As for her story, so during the Oni War, Yanagi was a soldier tasked to take out the only leader. Imagine he was tasked to take out Hitler. Well, okay, I think that's not a good analogy considering that the leader is supposed to be Sukaku's sister and she's not actually bad. But in the sense of like how important the mission is, she off to kill Hitler. And during her search, she came across Sukaku, which during this time, she decided to give her a treat, aka her MRE, since she was hungry, which then just so happened to be a bombshelling. Since Yanagi protected Sukaku, not only was she basically kidnapped by the Oni clan, but right before they're gonna kill her or do anything with her, Sukaku then helped bridge the two with both the human and the Oni. Why? Because the nice lady gave her food. Yagini made the point that since the father is dead, and the whole reason this war started was because of the Oni father, they no point of really to continue this bloodshed anymore. So it's up to them, the newest generation, to put an end to this. How? Yanagi and Sukaku's sister fuse their blood with one another. The only way this war can end is with the Oni leader dead. So, the Oni leader, aka Sukaku's sister, infused her blood with Yanagi, making her half human, half Oni. But also because of this, not only did she basically ended the war and also help all these Oni people, she also adopted Sukaku because it was Sukaku who helped bridge the gap between the Oni and Yanagi due to Yanagi offering Sukaku food and also protecting her from the bomb shelling, but mainly food. So now Yanagi a single mother who have to pay for child support. Another funny thing to note is that when it comes to her faction, she's the only sensible person in that faction, along with being not only the mother of Sukaku, but as well as the faction. The best way to put it is that imagine she's like that one mom or parent just holding the like child leash with all three of them. That basically describes Section 6 mentality. Crack gameplay, crack story, good mother with a good heart. Damn, that 2 mothers in a row. Do we have a third mother next? I take it back, I take it back, I take it back. Lucy is a support character, which despite that class, she does pretty great damage actually. I think the biggest takeaway about her is her passive core, which all Asians have passive cores, but what makes her so special to me is that she have the 3 little piglets. Once the piglets are in battle and fighting for her, or are being used as sacrifice, she can then leave the battlefield and get switched with a different agent, and those 3 little piglets will still be on the battlefields, which is pretty neat. I also just love her animation sometimes, such as for some of her animation when she's about to lose her balance, the pigs just help her get back up, rebalancing her, as well as them willingly sacrificing themselves for her. It's just funny to watch. Lucy's backstory quite stuff. She actually the daughter who's supposed to be the head of a prestigious family named the Montaltino family, which her full name is Lucia Atagus Theodoro de Montefio. I know I'm gonna butcher that. Sorry about that, but whatever happened between her and her dad, it caused her to then be on the run, aka become a runaway. I don't know why I worded like that. I'm doing this entire thing without a script. Her father sees this as a rebellious phase of her, you know, just one of those phases back in my age, and he expecting her to eventually come back to claim the thrones or head of the Montaltino family. Which, by the way, we do know more context on how she run away. Basically, Lucy staged a whole kidnapping to where she would basically get kidnapped to justify her going missing. However, this led Caesar King, the leader of the Son of Caledon, to beat the crap out of her fake kidnapper and save her in the process, which then led to Lucy becoming a full-fledged member of the Son of Caledon. And during her entire time in the Son of Caledon, she basically became part of this newfound family, which honestly, that goes for everyone in the Son of Caledon. Lucy's role in the Son of Caledon is basically the little sister of the family, or basically the youngest kid who hate her family but also secretly or unconsciously love her family, especially with how she acted during chapter 4 of the main story. I can see why people like her. I was just not expecting this much lore with her. Number 27. Bro is definitely a bottom. Facts. Seth is actually a rookie for the police faction, also known as Public Security Criminal Investigation Special Response Team. Let's just call them PubSec for short. Best way to describe him in short is that he is a rookie officer who is book smart, but sadly isn't street smart. He easily gets taken advantage of by cunning criminals, or even if Ricky saved his coworker? God damn. The best example of this is literally his first introduction, where we follow another character, Jane Doe, who is supposed to be an undercover agent, but he knows that this kid or rookie is too much of a gullible person or goody two-shoe to where if you were told him that, hey, I'm undercover, he would straight up be smiling all the time and having a shit-eating grin look on his face, giving it away. What interesting to note about him is that Seth and his family have a whole thing about being in PubSec, so much so that currently him and his brother are both in PubSec. However, it is noted that they're both not on good terms, as the wiki state that they both pretend not to know one another when encountering each other at work. As for gameplay wise, it's pretty good. He actually the second defender out of the 3 in this entire game, and yeah, it showed. He have a shield dash, a sword that can turn into basically a great sword. He gives shield to his ally whenever he switch or assist. He can tank damage and deal heavy blows and damage. It is a bit slow, but it is rewarding whenever it's land and it's finished. As a final note, I love his final trust event where he basically get asked out by one of his co-worker and he declined it. At first it was heavily brutal, but then he explained why they wouldn't be compatible. If they call you bottom tier, that means you're bottom in bed. Anton is pretty cool. He one of the key member of the Bellabon industry and one Koleda's trusted aides. He's also very bro eccentric, especially when he referred to his bros a lot, which is his jackhammer. Yes, his jackhammer is his bro, don't question it. Honestly, I don't have much to say really. He is someone who is always there to help you no matter what. This does include, of course, helping his company along with the president, helping the proxy, and of course helping his fellow workers. For his gameplay, pretty simple and nice. He's an attacker with a one-track mindset. Okay, that sounds very harsh, but what I'm trying to say is that Anton doesn't really have much to him. All he have is an EX special that allow him to use electric attack as well as a move to make his drilling ability stronger. I think the best way I can explain him is just simply very simplified but decent. Overall, if I can summarize him, himbo energy. Number 25. Oh boy, child labor! As mentioned before, Grace have a sister dynamic to somebody's daughter who now run the company. That would be Coletta, who run her father company ever since his disappearance. Coletta is a fire stun character who, yes, it makes sense he is fire stun, just like her stun didn't grow. But beside her not being able to reach the cookie jar, she actually made quite a great stun character. Her basic attack are alright, but her EX special are where her true damage lies. If you time the button press just right, she can do extra damage. Because of this, she can make up for any good team combination, which is weird because she doesn't need Ben bigger for it. Due to the bond that Coletta and Ben have with each other, they have an animation with each other which is only for Coletta for some reason, where Ben will come out and help her with an attack. Now from what I researched about this, it does give her an increase in damage. Hello, quick pause here. So I just did a test earlier today, as you can see right here in this video. It seemed that Coletta still do more damage without Ben, so whoopsie. Back to the video. However, this feels more like a limit to her character than a buff, because Coletta as herself worked just as fine, meaning that she can easily fit into any team that needs a fire stun character, while if you have to pair her up with Ben, it heavily limiting her since you basically only open up to one free slot while the other two are taken. As for her story, it's quite interesting with a sense of mystery. Due to Coletta's father just taking the company money and just disappearing, it caused the company to go into a scandal and almost just be wiped off from the face of the earth. And for whatever reason, Coletta decided to be in charge of the company, whether that was because he was forced into the position or she decided to take up the position on her own. But because of this, she was able to drag the company out of the scandal and be able to thrive in present day. And it's so nice seeing everyone in her faction treating her like if they were her own family. Obviously, this does go with, God, I think every single faction now that I think about it, Jesus Christ. Grace have a neat and cool dynamic with Coletta, as if they were like sister to each other. In a way, you could see as Grace being stuck with the role of not only being her sister, but also having to be like a mother figure to Coletta, since we never heard anything about Coletta's mother, and her father is literally gone missing, so who the hell is going to be her parental figure now? Maybe that's why Grace is always so kids loving and whatnot. But by far my favorite scene or story bit with Coletta is when she figured out why her father disappeared. Imagine this. One night you just woke up and saw your father just straight up with a bag of money disappear, never to be seen again. And everyone except for you now have this hatred toward your father. Mainly because he left a whole company behind, meaning that many people's jobs were on the line and therefore their livelihood. But you were trying for whatever reason, whether that be grief or whatnot, been trying to hold on, try and find a silver lining or to prove that your father was actually a good person. And you actually found that evident, that being his final resting place. Of course, one anime fight scene later happening and like you basically on death's door / about to be killed, and then you found out that during the scuffle, the last thing that your father had was a photo of you, his child. So you have such an amazing story at the end, man. It's pretty cool. Number 24. Shark Boy pretty cool. Alright, now that I got that joke out of the way, Ellen is pretty cool. She was the first ever banner character in Zenless and the one that everyone got the most talk about. Her gameplay is fast and heavy hitting. Not as heavy as all the other characters, but heavy enough to where you can deal good damage. A big con I will say about her gameplay is that she does have meter just like everyone else. However, her meter get used up immediately once you start using her basic attack or just attacks in general, which sucks, meaning that you can't conserve them when you want to use them for later when the enemy stagger or something. As for her story, it's honestly one of those cases where if you like the character, which honestly that goes for everyone in this game. The whole character is basically this high school student who works a separate job as a Hallo raider, aka a dangerous job, but she keeps it a secret from her friends, which in her special agent story, her friends find out, but obviously they still see her as her friends and she is still worried about it and whatnot. Same old story, just based off how they execute it. That and also she is very sleepy and tired. Again, it just really depends on if you like the character or not, so what do I think? What rank is she again? I honestly do like the whole idea, mainly because of how they go silly with her character. Not only does the fandom go silly with how sleepy she can be and how hard she can go into her whole shark persona, but even the game go hard into it as well, which honestly I like. I like how she canonically sleep in shark pajamas, which is funny. I like how she says she's distant from her friend and the proxy, but in reality she actually cares for them. As well for the people at the Victoria Housekeeping Company. Yes! Overall, a cool character for our first S-rank banner. My friend downloaded this game just for her and never touched it ever again. Pultra is cool. How her gameplay works is that you have to build up her EX meter first, and then once you activate it on an enemy, you fill up her own meter, which kind of look like those orange teeth. Once you switch out to another agent and use their EX special on an enemy, she'll then come out and help assist you by doing more damage, which is so cool because it can make for good team up attack and doing so much damage, especially when it comes to bosses. I will say, however, I feel like her move is downplayed by one agent, but at the same time, despite her being a banner agent, Pultra gameplay in the sit can go well with that agent, which can do heavy damage to your opponents. But overall, Pultra is so good, and I love the concept and idea of her story. That originally, she was actually an enemy NPC that we fought, aka a boss fight in one of the previous story campaign. But later on, whether that be due to fan requests or just the developer wanting to, she later became a playable agent who switched sides to join the Son of Caledon. Which is insane because that means they're up to 6 members now, or 6 playable agents. Factions usually have up to a team of 4, which now they seem to be downgraded it to a team of 2. Hi, Future Courier here. I'm first just going to start off by saying, no, the factions aren't getting cut down to 2 members per faction. We are getting more than 2 with almost all faction. It's just going to depend on who they are. These include Yinxing Temple faction, I don't know if I pronounced that right, and the Angel Delusion. We're also still getting new members for previous factions, such as Opal Squad, who have been waiting for their last 2 members. And I think the next update gonna have their newest one. I just gotta make sure I finish this video by then, because I do not want to add more work to this video. I've been at this for months, man. But since this is a Zenless Zone Zero game, they have to be trauma packaged with these characters. Therefore, her trauma is that she lost someone very close and dear to her, a best friend. Which is why she more closed off or reserved to herself, but later as you go for a trust event, she actually become more open to both Proxy and her newest best friend, Bernice. The dynamic between the two are honestly quite perfect. It literally just dog energy matched with cat energy, or just Yippee with Grumpy, and they're both are now best friends. And that's all I have to say about Polcha. Overall, she's pretty good, and it can help deal extra damage. Until you get to another character, but we'll get to her later. Number 22. I think Astra is very middle of the road. Let me first start with her gameplay by saying that her gameplay reminds me of Aerith. Astra is a ranged user character, where her most useful trait comes in her ultimate that allows her to heal her allies, thus making her the first ever healer of Zenless. However, depending on the type of player you are, if you're like me, someone who is casual and not really too hard to gacha, you aren't going to really need to use her. And plus, if you're really good at dodging or keeping your allies alive, then you don't really need her at all, especially if you're a free-to-play player, because we out there struggling, boys. Even though that sees one the most used agent in endgame to the point where some may even say that see a necessity, to me it's a take it or leave it scenario. If you're really good at the game or able to conserve your character health throughout the entire game, then you don't really need a healer on your team. If you like that extra safety net or desperately need someone to help heal your allies and don't want to use the A-rank character, then Astra is your best bet. So overall, I see it as completely middle of the road. You do as you will with her gameplay. As for her story, Astra is a celebrity singer in New Erdu. When she was young, the fall of old Erdu happened, and she was trapped. Well, of course she did got rescued. She was the only survivor from that rescue group. The only thing that could calm and soothe her soul was the music of Joran de Winter, which helped her inspire to become a celebrity singer. And her goal in life is to use her song to reach to the loneliest people's heart, and also inspire them just like how Joran did to her. I feel like they executed her story perfectly, especially with the inspiration part, mainly because during the final act of her special episode, we see her playing on stage, where basically a fight would later occur. And to be honest, the entire fight scene on stage, both gameplay and cutscene, remind me so heavily of Ruby. Which is funny because while I was playing this game, I was actually getting back into watching Ruby again. So honestly, I feel like they did a great job with her character and her inspiring others. However, there is an evil side when it comes to becoming a celebrity idol, especially with the industry, since they try to use Astra as an asset more than anything else, just like how they did with Joran de Winter. Which, if I'm not mistaken, due to the poor quality of the industry, led to his death, but also take full control and privacy of his work, even if it wasn't made for the company. A story that helps show inspiration with creativity, but also show how company can abuse passionate people and whatnot. Her story go hard, but once you get to know more of her playstyle and her character, she is an amazing character. Number 21. I love Soldier 11 gameplay solely based off the idea that it reminds me of Squall gameplay from FF8. How? Simple. You have to time her attack correctly so that way you can get the most effective flame damage out of her. Similar to Squall Limit Breaker, to where you have to time the button correctly in order to get the most out of his damage. Soldier 11 is part of the Obel Squad, which is a weird squad because they're kind of a faction that are getting rolled in even to this day. Soldier 11 was actually in a similar situation with Tsukaku, whereas he was the only member of her squad to be out during the time of release. It wouldn't be till the next update patch 2.2 where we'll finally get the remainder of Opal Squad. Hopefully I can get this video out by then. Overall, her gameplay is simple, and her story, Soldier 11, is actually a clone of another agent, which I'm just gonna say right now, she is a clone of Ambi. Her and Ambi were part of a military experiment where they were trying to clone soldiers, so that way it can be cost efficient, save lives. It literally did the complete opposite of that, to the point where Ambi was the only successful clone. So they were like, hey Ambi, you're perfect. So it's just only you and Soldier 11 left, but since you already completed these test results, we're just gonna kill Soldier 11 off. You cool with that? And Ambi was like, nah fam, and then she yeeted herself. Which then the scientists were like, well, we're just left with Soldier 11 now, so hey Soldier 11, congrats, you passed the test, yippee! Fast forward later to where basically more stuff happened to where basically Soldier 11 now part of the military but have her own squad, aka Obel Squad, and the experiment is now basically just been deleted / gone. However, she wants to take revenge on the people who did this experiment to her and her sisters, which also include MB. I'll talk more once we get to MB, or more specifically, Silver MB later. Hey, I also realized while recording this, I did not mention her agent story, which is literally the tutorial for all agent story that the game make you play through. There's not much going for that story, to be honest. It's literally just you helping her figure out who betrayed her squad. They're still doing fine and all. Look at Trigger and like the next two Opal squad we get in season 2. But at least in her agent story, they're not much really. All of her story benefits or piggyback right off of the other agent story, which that what was referring to when I was mentioning characters like Courier and Piper. Anyway, just thought to mention that. Back to the video. But beside her having to share a story and getting more info lore, she also loves spicy ramen noodles. And yeah, that's pretty much it, really. This is where I would put Belle and Wise on the list if they were playable agent. I would put Belle over Wise because Belle has such more personality, and she is such a gremlin.
Let's be realistic about our combat abilities. Most likely, it'll be Eos who saves the day.
Bruh.
Oh god, how many characters were there before we got Bernice? I think Jane Doe was the whole poster girl when this game was considered a Gooner game. Especially with how they advertise her. They still do this type of advertising to this day, I'm pretty sure, but it wasn't as bad as it was when it first released. Jane Doe was originally the PubSec consultant before she was then promoted / transferred to become an undercover cop. We see how well she can blend in as a criminal in one of the episodes where we get to play as her. Along we also get to play as Seth and see how he is, which funny enough, this is where the whole shipping / me of Seth x Jane Doe come to play, especially their interaction. As when it comes for her identity, that we don't know of. And of course, when a game or series try to advertise or make their character look cool and mischievous, the fandom will then turn them into marketable chibi. I love this version of Jane Doe more. As for her gameplay, she is an anomaly type character, meaning that she does what she does best, as in debuff, 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 debuff. She is built like a dodge character where you are more focused or prioritized to dodge the character attack and then strike right afterward, so that way you can deal more damage. And that's the thing with Jane Doe. I feel like she's just simply an alternate version of another S-rank character who is also a dodge type character. That being Nekomata, which now that I realize the only two dodge characters in this game are both Thyron characters. Nekomata is another dodge type character who is also the attacker for one the base faction group that we get to follow, and is also one of my favorite faction, mainly because they run the whole found family trope, and this is such a diverse cast of characters that we'll get into in this list. Her gameplay is pretty simple. Not only do you want to dodge the enemy attack, you also want to appear right behind them to do a special attack in order to get the most damage out of her. Honestly, the main reason why I prefer Nekomata over Jane Doe is mainly because of her value. While yes, gameplay-wise, she is considered weaker to Jane Doe. However, just because someone is A rank or came out at the base of the game doesn't mean that they are out of the game entirely in terms of meta or gameplay. The longer you play Zenless, the more you realize that even the most least valuable character, or the character who came out the longest, can still be pretty good in endgame. So while you can use Jane Doe, I just feel like Nekomata is just a bit better value when it comes to just gameplay. That, as well as I also prefer her story. Her whole background is that she was part of a gang called the Red Fang Gang, which then the leader adopted Nekomata as her daughter and as part of the gang. And then the leader died within the prologue. So now the whole first chapter is basically Nekomata trying to figure out why the cunning hair killed off her dad, aka they didn't. There is more to this story, such as how Nekomata went undercover acting friendly to the cunning hair, thinking that they're actually evil. Or how another one of Nekomata's goal was that she was trying to find a brooch or / necklace that have a picture of her and her father, aka the leader. But that was basically a whole summary I just did with her character, which was just explaining how after losing one family, she was able to find another. The found family trope shall always prevail. I think overall, she's a pretty decent character. And if you like playing the dodge build, I would say give her a shot. Also, if you're wondering what the meme potential behind her when it comes to the fandom is, she's a cat. cat go purr. Age of consent, boo! Alright, now let's talk about Ambi. Now to first clarify, this is normal Ambi, aka her A rank / the version that came out with the base game. So going to be your first agent that you get and also play as. So her gameplay pretty simple, just slash away the enemy, and when you have your special EX meter ready, you pull that out to do more damage. Now when it comes to her story, let's save her S rank story for when we get to it. Don't worry, I would still consider it the same over here since she is the same character. So that means for when it comes to both of these characters separately, it would depend heavily on their gameplay. When the game first came out, Ambi was known as the mystery character, where you don't know much about her, but whatever she does honestly quite innocent or nice. All we know at the time is that she's serious, loved the cunning hair as if they were her own family, mainly because Nicole found her in a ditch and saved her life, and also she a huge movie geek or fanatic. We actually get to see a lot of this in her character, especially the whole movie fan.
Almost here. The monster? The theme song. What? The bad guy's theme always plays before the final battle.
There was one thing that made everyone question about her in the fandom, that being her and Soldier 11. Like mentioned before with Soldier 11, they're both possibly clones, therefore they're sister. Hell, it was actually joked that they were both clones, while there was a common theory that they were both sister. We just didn't know how that was connected nor related. I swear, some of the decision for this game is driven by intrusive thoughts. But overall, I'll talk more about her story once we get to her S rank version. As for just her A rank version overall, I love this character. She is pretty cool and I like her geekiness. Geekiness? Get your geek on. Number 17. Do not trust this high schooler. No matter what she does or give you, do not trust it. She will and had already pranked the item. She give you water? Guess what? It's cyanide. She hand you a banana? Guess what? You take a bite, it's a revolver, and now your head is dead. You roll a S rank on the gacha character, and now you have to win a 50-50? Guess what? She already rigged it, and now you got Nekomata again. No matter the prank, no matter the person, she's always the one behind the wheel. Alright, now let's talk about her story. Yuki Ninami Yusuha, sorry for the mispronunciation, was used as an experiment when she was a child for the cultists. During her time when she would explore the air ducts, she came across someone who was bringing their daughter to work that day, and her daughter would drop this hairpin, which Yusuha would keep with her and later will come in contact with that person. We'll get to her when we actually get to her section later. She would later be able to escape containment and be able to live a life for her own. She would later get adopted by an old man and live an actual normal high schooler life like if it was a slice of life anime. I'm not gonna lie, her stories suck. When we learn about her story and just the main story as a whole, it feels not only filler, but feel like it was shoved in. Everything about this girl will feel more like advertisement and more shoved in. Like, when we first meet her, she appeared like just any normal high school student. Honestly, not much to her besides just pranking people. But later, we learned that, oh, the reason why you know this facility so well is because you were originally an experiment. However, nothing in present day show that you have any after effects of these experiments. The only thing that you have is just a tattoo number on your shoulder, but even then, it's covered up by your clothing. So it feels more as if this was shoved in. I really wish they'd gone a different direction with her character, rather than, oh, it turned out this entire time, I was actually an experiment for the cult. As well as how her story is intertwined with Alice's story due to her father, and that hairpin, but it just... that's also feel like another forced connection in a way, which I'll touch upon in Alice section later. I feel they could have done a different story with her character. For example, in lore, it turned out she created a whole subforum called the Spook Shack, where they're basically like a high school club that go out and do similar commissions similar to Hallo raiding. They could have done a Chainsaw Man situation where they have a bunch of high schooler students running a club to where they legally are allowed to help with the Hallo raiding work. Obviously, they would need extreme and heavy regulation permission for that, but that would have been a much better story than Yusuhan doing this whole thing and then create the Spook Shack as a second thought in the ending. Everything about this character, the more you dive deeper in her backstory that isn't just her regular high school life, feel more as they have to make her have some weird traumatic connection to the main plot somehow. It just feel like they just tried to make this character have some insane importance where I bet he won't be important once this update is gone. Her story makes zero sense to me. And what suck is, the reason why C is this high on the list is because of her gameplay. When it comes to her gameplay, that does make sense and I can see why C very viable. C is a physical support user, and C... oh my fucking god, C just copying Vivian! We'll get to her later too, but Jesus Christ. Her whole gameplay and attacks allow her to attack multiple enemy at once or just one single enemy, as well as providing support such as increased damage or debuff to the enemies. However, it's one thing that I noticed that, okay, you have another user that had a same tool as someone else, that's fine. I literally mentioned in Quinn Chi's section that I'm fine reusing weapons. But to be honest, this just feels more like a copy of Vivian. Beside the class and element, it feels more like they try and copy her moves when it comes to some of its attacks. Overall, it feels more like they added a different style / flavor over the character rather than try and make something new with it. I swear, if it weren't for her gameplay and just general power creep, she wouldn't be this high on the list, but because of it, she is. Number 16. Alice Timefield. See, honestly, a better step up than Yusuha, but have the same problem as Yusuha. Being one of the last remaining member of her family, Alice is a part of the Timefield family, who also is stepping in to help with her grandfather's business, therefore not only becoming the head and appearance of it, but as well as maybe one day becoming the sole head of her family company. While attending a different high school, she did eventually meet up with Yusuha and befriended her due to this campaign, mainly because Yusuha Raccoon was in on the prank and scaring Alice. Despite Alice seemingly disinterested in these ghost story or pranks or horror stories, she actually is intrigued by them, despite her not showing it. Honestly, I'm the same too. But here where the problem starts. So, in the main campaign, Alice meet up with Yusuha, honestly. But remember that hairpin that Yusuha have? It just so happened that Alice have the same hairpin, the exact one that Yusuha had. That because the father that was taking her daughter to work that day was actually Alice's father, and Alice dropped that hairpin that day. And for some reason, despite them only meeting for 3 days or so, this caused a connection between the two to have a soul-like bond with each other. To where even when Yusuha sacrificed herself to let the other escape, Alice was determined to go back and rescue her, to the point where we even set up a whole team that literally using military forces to go help and save Yusuha. This shit is stupid. I think that's honestly the main problem I have with both Alice and Yusuha. It feels forced. While yes, it is always a good idea to make a connection with these two, it have to happen both naturally and take time. In this case, it feel like it was all set up and eventually was rushed, so that way the two can be for some reason have this big bond, despite only meeting for a few days. I think what also annoyed me too is that what's the sacrifice for someone she just met? She sacrificed a medicine that only her family have and know have a good percent margin of their family profit, who at the time of the story is considered an antagonist. She was willing to give it away to an enemy for free in order to save someone she just met. Now, in all fairness, she made a smart move by making the medicine public, meaning that anyone can now develop and make the same medicine. But at the same time, you just met the person! Not only that, we have Proxy who can help us use military force. It's so mind-boggling because if we mess this up, we're basically going to be dead to society and the public. However, we are literally using military favors and friends to help us get indisputable evidence against a cult, which, mind you, is also the same exact cult that had been developing medicines to turn people into ethereals, which is extremely illegal and unethical. And you telling me just because, oh, these are high-end rich companies, similar to a power unlike a Disney, they have all the money to basically cover it up, even though we have hard-proof evidence favored from essentially the mayor himself, a new era, dude, even though we're in a new place, but also have Jesus fucking Christ! Yes, I understand this is a filler chapter. Yes, I understand that we are having a big setup for what to come in 2.3. But this is filth! Filth! As much as these two characters help add to the roster, it feels forced and unnecessary. And if I would have to pick one or the other, I'd rather pick Mondo, the NPC that I always get his name wrong, that will eventually become a playable agent later on. That's right, I will rather have this now confirmed A-rank character over these two S-rank characters, because their story aren't that good to me. With that out of the way, her gameplay is another example of power creep, but it's also fun. Basically, much more fun and better gameplay of Jane Doe, and despite Yusaha diminishing her character, I still think overall her character is pretty decent. Let's just move on to the next character. Number 15, Burger King Foot led. Speaking of geeks, Billy the Kid. Starting off with his gameplay, Billy shoots. He shoots. All he does is shoot. As for his story, he is actually a battle android, or what the game considered intellect tactical unit, which his model, or at least Billy Kid himself, was actually sold to the leader of the Caledon, which obviously would later become the son of Caledon, which over time, they would all treat each other like family. Before Billy would leave the Son of Caledon, he would actually receive two gifts, which are the two guns that he used to this day. That right, Billy used to fight without guns. I don't know how that looked like, especially considering in lore, he was considered a menace / infamous back then, which is crazy considering like, this is the same Billy we're talking about? Happy going, carefree, love this universe version of Kamen Rider. That Billy? I think what we as a weakness for him is that you are more advised to be up close and personal with your enemy instead of create distance between the two. I think this is so that way you can deal as much damage as you can, especially since for some of Billy's movement ability, there are moments where you aren't going to get all your shots on your opponent while moving. Now that I think about it, due to the nature of this game, it makes sense why you need to get up close and personal. Next one is the Dami Mommy. Facts. Elena? No, not Elena. What? How do I pronounce her name? Evelyn, being both Astra bodyguard and manager, is also the second member of their faction. Evelyn is pretty cool and pretty hype. She attacked using this hot red string. Imagine it like a character fighting with wire, similar to Lucy from Cyberpunk. Her gameplay is fast and quick, focusing on taking out a multiple or singular enemy in quick succession. Which makes sense since she's supposed to be a bodyguard for her VIP, aka this idol celebrity that honestly, they're just lesbians. Like, unironically segueing to her story, she was a corporate spy where her life is forfeit to the corporate. This eventually later led to one of her missions where she would become an undercover spy for this one company, which turned out that she had to be an undercover spy for Astra company by becoming her bodyguard. But once her company caught her in backstage, asking her to basically betray Astra and to basically take down the whole event, she refuses and risks her life to save Astra, which also revealed her true identity to Astra, that she was basically working against her. But Astra, pulling out her ethereal Riz, was basically able to tell her, Evelyn, you are you. Personally, along with the fandom as well, I think these two are supposed to be lesbian, but the game never fully states that they are lesbians. I think this has to do based off where the company is from, because Hoyoverse is indirectly a Chinese company, and since they have to follow Chinese laws and censorship, there are some things that they are not allowed to do. One of these, of course, being same-sex relationship. But as time goes on, people will find a way to go around these regulations, being able to do or say what they want to say without having to flat out say it. They can heavily imply that they could be lesbian, but it could also be heavily implied that they're just really great friends. This also brings up the whole music video they made for Evelyn. I don't plan on bringing up the EP of their songs, since they're either going to be telling the stories that we already know from these characters, or they just simply add a little bit extra stuff to them. That, and as well that I don't want to spend so much time on this video as I am already. However, I will say, I feel like Evelyn is the best one. The EP showed when Evelyn started working with Astra for the first time, where one day, due to the kindness of Astra, she decided to personally make her a meal. While this meal was obviously just trash. I think what's amazing about this is that Evelyn focused on one thing of Astra, that being the bandage around her finger. How much effort and work she put into this meal just for her, which led Evelyn to scoff the whole thing down, even if it was unedible. This started the spark between the two, and oh my god, I love this so much. Because later, Astra started to feel hungry during one of her interviews, which led Evelyn to start cooking for Astra, and it was just as bad at Astra cooking, but Astra still ate it despite wanting to spit it out, which led Evelyn to learn how to start cooking so that way she can make better meal for Astra. It's so good! I swear, I feel like lesbian or Yuri storytelling feel more realistic and so much better than just straight romance or yaoi romance. I swear to god, it is so good! This one felt weird to rank. Jufufu, the orange cat Thyron that everyone loves. God loves spreading false information, but in actuality, she actually a Tiger in Thyron. She usually don't like it when you name her other Thyron similar to Tiger, such as Orange Cat or other races. But yeah, this one felt weird to rank mainly because she was in the top 10, and then when I got to her part, I realized this felt off for me. You'll see later who higher than her on this list, but characters like those were lower than her? So after doing a double take and looking at it some more, I decided that yeah, I guess I would rank her over Evelyn just a bit. It would be very small, but it's still just a bit. Let's start off what I felt was an equalizer / trade-off for her was the gameplay. When it comes to Jufufu, she fight with a Beyblade, and honestly, it's funny to me that she feel like she have the best of both Quincy and Piper. The fact that, oh, we just want a Beyblade move. Oh, well, we got that. I still want to keep a move where I can constantly stun my enemy at a constant rate. Oh, we have that. And when it comes to her move in general, she can still provide great attack and great stun. However, the problem is, she is a stun character that is best suited when you partner up with someone. Hell, even when you tried to do her episode, she paired up with Evelyn. So the question is, why did I put her over Evelyn? Honestly, I think it's just because her character and story. So obviously, trauma. But she was living in a village when she was very young, in a Tiger Thyron village. However, a companion Hallo appeared near the village, which due to this, almost wiped out the entire Tiger Thyron race. So now in the modern day, they are considered near extinct. So if you ever see those jokes of people going up to Jufufu and saying that they need to repopulate, that's why. But anyway, besides that, during her time growing up, she grew up watching martial art film, which helped inspire her to become who she is today. Which honestly, that makes a lot more sense why she seemed to have like a kid-like attitude of always trying to be a hero and thinking the right thing is always obvious. Because beside the main story where she basically acting like that new hero asking why isn't it just black and white, in her episode, this is where she actually starred in a movie, by accident mind you, and during her time filming this movie with his so-called master, since she was supposed to refer to him as master in the movie, it turned out that they have this ancient Tiger Thyron amulet that sucked the life and soul of other tigers. Not only that, the master was also working with some exaltists, aka the cult. So they were planning on using this amulet not only so that way the master gained more life, but also both parties can attain the skill of Jufufu. But after obviously a fight and such, and Jufufu defeating his master, Jufufu finally was able to live out that martial art experience, that heroic martial art ending. And then by the end of it, Jufufu showed Weiss/Belle the movie, which honestly I thought that was a nice touch. I think I generally prefer Jufufu over Evelyn just only a teeny bit. If it comes to gameplay, it's 100% Evelyn, but when it comes to Jufufu and their stories, I would pick Jufufu. It's honestly weird, but I guess that's how ranking videos goes in here, I guess. Do you guys ever feel like a plastic bag drifting through the wind? Lighter is a character who wants to die, but can't. Wait a second, this isn't the right gameplay. Okay, they're the right gameplay. Lighter is part of a mercenary group that were basically like his own family. So after being the sole survivor of his mercenary group, it was hinted that he was going to plan on dying, but then he realized that wouldn't change anything nor bring his group back to life. So he decided to do what the next best thing. Go ahead and take out a huge loan to help pay and support the cost of his fallen comrade families. Of course, this would lead to him accumulating a massive debt, which then led to him doing underground fighting to make up for that debt. He was in there for a long ass time, till Big Daddy, I kid you not that is someone named, the leader of the Son of Caledon, paid off his debt and took him in. Which then, it was only a matter of time before Lighter found his new family. This is where Lighter would also meet Billy the Kid, which he basically called him his brother and also predecessor, due to both of them being considered on the same power scale. Don't ask me how, they haven't explained this yet or showed it to us. As for his gameplay, I hope you like punches because that's all you basically gonna get with him. And oh my god, he punched like a truck. Honestly, that's really about it with his gameplay. And it just really make you feel like you're just a one-man army or just taking on the world with your bare fists. The only weird thing I have to note about him when it comes to gameplay is that he is considered a stun character. A stun! You can honestly turn him into an attacker or a pseudo-attacker, but in game and in lore, he is considered a stun character. I don't know why. It is so baffling to me, honestly. Overall, Lighter, he is the GOAT. Number 11. Trigger's story is sad. So here's a synopsis. He's part of the Obel Squad, aka with Soldier 11, which by the way, they are good friends. However, before he was part of Obel Squad, he was actually part of a different squad, which were sadly the first squad to go into Hallo Zero. If I haven't mentioned it before, Hallo Zero is basically the first ever Hallo, and also the worst of them all. Because of her and her squad going in there, she would later lose her eyesight due to Ethereal shooting her. And also, her squad died, leaving her to be the sole survivor. Her whole agent story revolved about just simply survivor guilt / grief, and it's so good. I thought Rena was one of the best agent story we have. Nah, Trigger just say move along, let me show you peak. And I love that they gave her a harmonica because she played a song called Homecoming, which is something she learned from her old squad mates who fallen during Hallo Zero, which because of that, she played as a memento for them, which is just mwah, chef kiss. I already thought her story was depressing, so you have to go with secondhand experience from the whole Silver Ambi story of watching her friend Soldier 11 get kidnapped and go through all that crap with Soldier Ambi. So it's like, she already lost her squad mates, she lost her eyesight, and not only is her best friend kidnapped, she in 2 different friend groups that can't see each other due to the whole Silver Ambi incident. Trigger is just the embodiment of that one friend that always get life thrown at her no matter what. They could be gone for a certain period of time, and then you meet up with them again, you guys are chilling and whatnot, being like, oh dude, long time no see, how has it been? And then Trigger over there being like, yeah, you know, ever since I lost the mortgage on my house, I kind of almost went homeless afterwards, but was able to find an apartment and hang out with this guy I met on Craigslist. Though I have to be careful because he had been recently busted for a drug operation down in New Eridu. Are you okay? Because this is an anime, so you have the anime logic or just media logic of, despite being blind, I am somehow stronger. Which in this case, she was able to develop her other senses to make them stronger, to the point where she can feel the vibration of someone's heartbeat. Look, I'm just saying, disabled people can be goated, man. They can pop off hard. As for her gameplay, it's pretty simple, honestly. Just simply a sniper, just obviously sniping around. However, there are 2 things that made her gameplay even more worthwhile. One being that during her aiming stance, she can automatically dodge projectiles. However, it does seem whenever I test it out, it can only be 1 at a time or have a weird cooldown. As long as you basically reset yourself, you can basically just keep dodging automatically indefinitely. And the second reason is that she have the same ability as Poltra, which can lead her to do more attacks, especially a lot more once you have her meter full, and she can do the same thing with her ult, which I see this as, why do you release them at the same time? Because when version 1.6 came out, Trigger was the second banner character, aka would come out in the later half of the update. And since Poltra is an 8-rank character, she would come out right as soon as the update was released. But Poltra got outpowered literally within half of the update. The only positive thing I can get out of this whole entire exchange is that since you can have up to 3 members, you can technically just put them in the same team and have an attacker as your third, so that way while you're attacking your enemy, the other 2 can help assist you doing more and more damage. Overall, I'm just hoping her VA benefit in making her go worthwhile. She have lost so much in her life, and she is still losing shit to this day. God, poor Trigger. Final 10, baby! Nicole, the money grabber, the money pincher, the Mr. Crab if he was a gender bent. There is surprisingly a lot you could say about Nicole. A lot of it doesn't sound good. Her gameplay is surprisingly simple. She shoots cancer, aka ether. She can basically shoot these bombs from her briefcase, which in a sense act like an AoE attack. And oh my god, when you learn how to use it, especially with the longer duration of the muzzle flash, you can do heavy damage. See, overall, great support character that honestly can last you an eternity. Until she eventually get power creep. But anyway, beside that, love getting money. Love it so much that she spend it very easily, to the point where she rack up a huge debt with the player. I swear to god, Nicole, one of these days, one of your payment gonna be doing an advertisement for Radio Shack, or wait, fucking, what was our place called again? But just like everything with this game, there's a backstory to why she loved money so much. She was an orphan, in an orphan home. That's the best line I said all night. In this orphan home, one of the kids was struck with ether sickness, aka cancer. It's so severe that she ain't gonna make a dog. This girl was actually a friend of Nicole, so Nicole came up with the idea and got everyone in the orphanage to go scatter around in New Area to gather as much money as they can to help pay for the medical bills. Obviously, since they're kids, they could only just find coins, or in this case, Denny's. But that's where the cunning Nicole came up with an idea. She used the reflection of the sun to shine off of a Denny, so that way the shine and reflection of the sun can reflect off the walls through the window into her into her bedroom, thus allowing her to see the sun one last time. This is where Nicole's love for money and kindness for others began, and it's never going to stop. Which is honestly why she's so in debt, and also why she's fucking bad with money. If it weren't for Ambi being the accountant for the cunning hair, an actual accountant would probably kill her by now. Like, oh, Proxy, please just lower my debt a teeny bit. I did all of this for you. Meanwhile, Ambi, we need at least 20,000 of Gucci product. This is a business expense, Ambi. Write that down. Overall, Nicole, nice person. Love money a little too much. Do not expect her to pay her debt back to you. If you give her $1, she'll come back with a debt of 100 to owe you. Number 9. Hey, remember when I mentioned about power creep in Nicole's section? Well, funny you should say. So, Vivian, what do I think of her? I feel like her gameplay is honestly perfect. Vivian, along with Hugo for that matter, are S-rate characters that honestly are very simplified. Most of the characters usually have attacks that where if you hold the square or basic attack button, they have another like variant of that attack. For Vivian, she doesn't have that. It's just simply a basic slash or hit motion, and then whatever her special move is that lead to more ether damage, which by the way, she is an anomaly character, so that means more ether. And she also have a similar ability to Pultra and Trigger, where once you have part of her meter or her full meter fill up, when you go to your other allies and they do a special attack, she can basically assist you by dealing more ether damage in this flower bloom thing. So overall, her gameplay is pretty good and viable. The biggest downside, however, is her character. Vivian have the special ability to where in lore, she can see the future. However, all of these future vision are usually traction. And since with all of these disasters she is always present with them, meaning that people start to connect the dots that whenever she have a vision or whenever she is around, that means something bad gonna happen to you too involuntarily. So I don't wanna be around this girl, fuck her. Obviously, this would mess with someone's psyche, to the point to where she was actually planning on offing herself. However, before she jumped off a building, she actually got a comment on one of her posts that she made. Before jumping, she decided to take one last look, want to see who sent her her final message. That being us, the player. This helped inspire and give her new life. is quite inspiring, quite nice, and hopefully I can do that to someone on this channel one day, or out there in the internet, who knows. Now, let's talk about her obsession with Phaethon. They play hard on the obsession. We have her straight up appearing right next to our character, sleeping right next to them, her asking for a favor from the mayor if she could get a wedding certificate arranged with us, and many more stalkerish behavior. I will give her the benefit of the doubt though. Hear me out. She does know when she took in something too far. When it comes to the whole certificate thing, she is respecting of our boundary and does respect a mutual agreement. She won't go through with it unless Phaethon want to go through with the whole marriage. But again, they play so hard in the stalking motif. It just straight up like, you need help, dog. So like, I'm torn on this character when it comes to her story. I think they done her story really well, especially why she does the things she do. But then like 10 minutes later, I'm gonna see either online or in-game that she actually stalking me while I'm trying to do groceries, or that she going through my laundry, sniffing my clothes. That is not a joke, that is an actual thing that happens. Like, girl, please, stop. You guys wanna see my new D&D character? I was born as an illimited child, a child born in a noble family, but I hated them. Every day was suffering and pain, so one day I would kill them, but that would be later in my life, a path that would lead me down a dark road. Before that happened, I joined the faction Mockingbird, where I would meet my best friend and gay lover, Lycon. It was there where I would learn more of my backstory, how I was actually a bastard son, someone who blooded even a disgrace to their own parents. So now, my goal is to take revenge on my uncle and take over the company from him. But my gay lover and best friend, Lycon, is starting to think I'm going insane. But we were able to make up and kiss up on top of a helipad. Afterward, I have gay sex. Okay, real quick though, during the whole sequence where he learned to forgive and confront his past sins, why is it that they use a bang boon to represent his evil self when both in a special cutscene and gameplay you get to fight a shadow version of himself? What happened? As for his gameplay, the gimmick with him is that, similar to Vivian, his whole thing is very simple. So simple in fact that he only got one page, that being that he can put enemy in a tolarized state, I think that would be pronounced. Once the enemy is frozen, you can attack them again, shattering and dealing a great amount of damage. And due to how fast Hugo is, make his gameplay swift and hard. Just like I am for Lycon, my gay lover and best friend. It's interesting how his gameplay started because he first started off with kicks or just using the scythe like a briefcase because of how it's folded. But then once you pull out the scythe, that's where the real fun and damage start kicking in. I also love how he just kind of looked like a businessman who is late for a business meeting. Oh no, I'm going to be late for my 12 o'clock. But besides that, I think there's not really much to him. If it weren't for the fact that he's an ice user who is one of the rare and one of the strongest elements out there in this game, he wouldn't be so high in the list, let alone be that much viable. Well, then again, I feel like to some he would still be lower in this list, but I like him. I think he's pretty great overall. Just makes on the story is really about it. Number 7. God damn, what do I say about Caesar? A while back on the list, I mentioned how the Defender class was broken once they got their first S rank, aka their third character. This is her, the Defender, and she is amazing. You may be wondering, what makes her so broken? She does what a tank or Defender do, be a tank, tank damage, and deal blows. I gotta go to bed after this, dog. I can't. She have the ability to counter almost any enemy attack. And not only that, if she have her EX special ready, she can give herself another meter, which allow her to have not only more increase in attack, but as well as an increased counter attack. Thus is why people have been calling her an easy mode character, due to her ability to just counteract everyone and to have stronger counters. For me personally, I don't really care. I'm very much a casual and free-to-play player when it comes to gachas, so honestly, this makes things a lot more fun and a lot more less grinding for me. So if I was trying to grind for material for a certain boss to upgrade my character, I can just pull her out so that way I can try to last longer. Oh my gosh. Not to delve too heavy into her story since she played a huge role in chapter 4 of the main campaign, but when it comes to interacting with the other character or her as herself, she have a huge big sister vibe, already looking out for one another, is the strongest among everyone, and willing to go through hell and back just to help and save people, whether that be people she love, know, or not even know about. She is pretty darn cool. And before I go to the next character, there's one more thing I do want to mention. Remember back with Evelyn when I mentioned about how certain characters get certain EP or songs made after them? Caesar is my favorite. Her whole song is just simply her thinking and dreaming of herself inside of a romance novel. God, she's just like me, way into romance novels or romance show and a hopeless romantic. Let's go. Number 6 and 5? Yeah, this one going to be a little bit weird how I'm going to rank this because I want to discuss both Silver Ambi and Haramasa both side by side. Because I feel like while both of their gameplay and story are similar, there are some differences that make them distinct from one another. Their gimmick are similar if not the same. They do fast and hard electric damage, they have a certain move where they can basically do more of it if they mark their target. Silver Ambi is basically what if Sword Dance was an actual attack move, while Haramasa uses a bow, which can also turn into swords. Hey, wait a minute. So, if their gameplay are similar, or you can just simply have one without the other, what about their story? Starting off with Soldier Ambi, Soldier 11 was kidnapped by one of their previous clones that turned out to still be alive, named Twiggy. That is her actual name, I'm not kidding. Which then led Ambi to basically go find Twiggy, rescue Soldier 11, basically let us the audience learn that when Soldier 11 received critical damage, within 24 hours, her memory will be completely reset, which is just, why are you designed like this? Specifically, why did the scientists who created you design you like this? Which raises the question, does this mean the same go for Ambi? I don't know. But anyway, so we learned that the company, or the higher-ups who made these clones, sent all of them on a suicide mission except for one. However, Soldier 11 was originally going to be on that suicide mission, but since he was injured, Silver Ambi, aka our Ambi, decided to take her place instead, which caused the whole thing of not only being the sole survivor and the only successful clone, which because of this information made Soldier 11 cry. Later on, Silver Ambi went to fight Twiggy on a one-on-one fight, so that way she won't have an army of clones. She later get turned into a Hollow, Soldier 11 help, they fight, and then win the fight. However, because of this, Soldier 11 took in too much stress, which caused her to have her memory reset again. So now Ambi have a choice, retell her the whole thing again or don't. And Ambi decided not to. The main reason why Ambi decided not to tell Soldier 11 about this is so that way she won't be weighed down by the trauma of her past. But since Ambi has decided to do this, this also means that she can never see Soldier 11 again, just so that way the past doesn't get brought up again in any way, shape, or form. I mean, let's face it, if you saw someone who looked exactly like you that you never met in your life, you would question that as well. So, Haramatsu on the other hand, oh wait, hang on, I gotta play his episode real quick, give me one moment. Oh my god, dude. Alright, so, Haramasa. His whole thing is that he fucked from the start. Ever since he was young, whether he was diagnosed with it or was given by his master after his parents left him at the hospital, Haramasa was cursed to basically die in the future where he will become an ethereal, aka a hollow. So that's where his master come in. Turn out that as we later find out in the story, his master is actually part of this cultist group in the whole main campaign that are gonna plan on using him to create a sacrifice. It's complicated, but that's all you need to know. Over the year, Haramatsu's master basically taught him how to wield a sword, bow, etc, but at the same time, he is also using him so that way he can create these booster drugs that will allow people to turn into Hollow much faster. This is sad because despite him doing all this crazy, bad shit, insane thing to a child, he actually found care and kindness to this child, treating him like his own son, to the point where he basically became conflicted with his own goal. Fast forward to now where basically Haramasa and the master separated, but now Haramasa want to find this master because, you know, and also another thing to note is that there's this other lab assistant guy, let's just call him K because I'm blanking out on the name right now, where his goal is to also help Haramasa find his master, but so that way he can steal his data and work so he can create the booster drug for humans to become ethereals, aka sacrifices. So once Haramasa finally found his master, he found out that K got there first. Not only that, but Master also turned into an ethereal, which then led to a huge boss fight. But after the boss fight, Haramasa's disease worsened to the point where he now basically dying. He was able to get the drug from K, but K mentioned that as long as there is a single drop of that drug, him and his people will be able to replicate. Oh my god, he injected himself. Oh no, don't die, Haramasa, Haramasa! After basically being in a coma or critical care for a long while, he was able to wake up. We then found out that the drug that he took was actually a treatment/cure drug that was supposed to help with his disease. That means the master was trying to create a cure for Haramasa's disease. However, this cure wasn't strong enough and is just only delaying or more like fighting the disease at the moment right now, therefore delaying his death. Sadly though, this does mean that he's gonna eventually die in the future, just albeit he's gonna be able to live a little longer before that day comes. Now that I think about it a bit, imagine how much of a rug pull that would be if Haramasa's illness were cured. I feel like that would just destroy his entire character, not just the story, but his value as a character. The whole reason why he's so important and so loved and valuable is that he unlimited time. But if that would just so happen to be cure just out of nowhere, that would feel like such a rug pull. Both of these stories are honestly really amazing and really incredible. Obviously, since this is a ranking video, I have to rank one higher than the other. I would rank Haramasa higher than Silver Ambi. The reason why I find Haramasa's story more interesting than Silver Ambi is because I think the concept of him knowing that he's going to die soon and it's confirmed that he's going to die soon is better than Ambi's story, where she is now alive and able to live her life now, but she can't interact with her family nor make contact with them anymore. So overall, I put Haramasa higher than Silver Ambi. But with that out of the way, let's talk about these final 4 characters, shall we? Should I go get like a 4-piece McNugget, or like Zunyan is a police officer who worked for PubSec. See, fight with a gun, multiple gun attachments, and also using cancer. Thinking about it some more, I think Zunyan is the S-rank version of Billy if he didn't have that one weakness where he constantly moving around instead of staying in one place. Where for Zunyan, you have the option for both. As well as going crazy with her moves, like holy shit, she got like acrobatic, Jesus. I won't go too much into her story due to the fact that since she's a police officer, she is involved in a lot of the major events of the story. But to easily summarize, she a police officer for PubSec, and we are Hollow Raider, which are people conducting illegal activities in the Hollows. That's honestly all you need to know. There are obviously more to her character, but those involve other character stories as well. So I'd rather we save those for others' characters, and I feel like those don't need to get mentioned unless necessary. But as for her character, she is considered a perfectionist, which is considered her only weakness. And beside that, honestly, she's pretty good. Hell, she doesn't even have trauma, which is surprising considering the amount of character we just went through. We just talked about a character who is on limited time and one that can't see her family. She grew up with 2 loving parents, grew up to be a police officer, and developed 0 trauma whatsoever. She also loved to garden tomato. She even have a tomato plant at one of her offices, though they always get ravaged by raccoons nearby. I also want to point this out in her promo video. She did the most typical Asian mom thing. It was when she said this to her child.
Hey, don't cry. Your finals are coming up, right? So as long as you get 100 on your tests, you'll be able to go out and play.
You gotta make sure you put the fear of God in them when they're young. But yeah, if you guys are looking for an ether attacker who also don't have much baggage, you... Damn. Can't say for all of these characters. Then you can pick up Zunyan whenever her banner is open. I hate limited runs. Question, for those who played the game before, are you gonna be shocked who at number 3? Now this is a character with baggage, alright. Lycon is our final character of the Victoria Housekeeping faction. When it comes to his gameplay, he fight with kicks. Just straight up kicks, which is honestly pretty cool and pretty amazing. I love these type of fighters, whether that be capoeira or just simply fighters that just use normal kicks. Even though he is slower compared to someone like Lighter when it comes to applying stagger to your enemy, his ice debuff allow him to help cover up that weakness, as well as just being able to apply ice, which is one of the strongest elements in the game, which will allow you to do more damage once they are frozen, therefore shattering them. So to me personally, he's honestly a really great stun character and honestly just someone to have on your team in general. As for his story, Lycon was part of a previous faction called Mockingbird, aka the one that Hugo and Vivian is. But at the time, it was only him and Hugo as one of the earliest members of the group. If it weren't for Victoria Housekeeping teaching him all the mannerism of being a butler or gentleman, it most likely came from this faction. Being dapper, having good manner, etc, etc. Basically, Mockingbird with the whole Robin Hood of the faction. You know, that was until fucking Hugo ruined it. But other than that, there's really not more I can explain that I haven't explained Hugo's story, since him and Hugo have a very, very rocky relationship. I guess the best way to explain it is that it's complicated. But overall, Lycon is someone who not only just a general good person like everyone we see in this cast, but he's someone who also responds to people realistically. Like, yes, he is gonna help an old friend, but that old friend had literally murdered people and committed several crimes. So he obviously gonna take precaution about it, and same with everyone else till he built trust up with them. That's why I like Lycon. He is honestly a great ally, great friend, and a good boy. Yes, you are! Number 2. Not gonna lie, if C didn't came out, we would have gone straight to number 1 here. Ishuwen Shifu. I'm only gonna pronounce her last name because I'm gonna mess up the first. I guess it's best if we start off with her gameplay. You see, C's actually one of the newest class in this update, or at least this game. Rupture. Rupture worked like this. While it is strong at the beginning, it isn't going to do as much damage as it will later on. You have to keep on fighting with that person, and as you do, the damage output will increase. And this causes a feedback loop, as the more you keep on fighting, the more damage you'll deal. It's insane too because she also have a new element. These new elements so far are only given to people who are Void Hunter, and usually they're just an upgrade version of an already existing element. Unless you want to get technical about it and call her Grandmaster, but let's be honest, see a Void Hunter. For this one is Ether. So you get the element that basically allows her to create these ink. This ink works similar to an anomaly, but once it filled up, it allowed them to take a bonus damage of ether, meaning that not only are you fighting with just the rupture clad itself dealing more damage, you're also leaving some inking substance on them so that way they take more damage if you were to, let's say, switch out or, God forbid, have a second where you're not doing damage to your enemies. When it comes to her story, it's really depressing. So Shifu grew up with a sister. We're just gonna call her sister because I'm too lazy to search up the name right now. The two were orphans living on the street, having to steal food in order to survive. Until eventually, one of the headmaster of the Yunquin Summit Temple at the time was able to adopt them and take them in as their own. They give the sisters an offer like, hey, just simply do some chores and basically practice under us and we'll make sure you fed, clothed, and have a home and such. Obviously they accept, and the two were able to train with each other along with the temple, and they were well known for being one of the best in the temple. It was eventually only a matter of time before one of them became the newest headmaster of the temple. But in the end, her sister won and gained the sword that her master had, which turned out is used to not only fight the most devilish of evils, but it is also used to wipe the memory of their user, eventually killing them in the process. Which, yeah, you can tell where this is going. One day during a hollow fight, they came across a nasty ethereal, and sadly, this would cost the sister life. So, before she died, the sister made one final move, using the sword as a way to help sacrifice herself. Her plan wasn't to save everyone. Her plan was to save her sister. Which I think is crazy because Shifu had the option to bring and carry the sword with her and use it as a weapon. But in doing so, she would lose the memories of her sister like her sister did. So she chooses not to, and to bear those memories. And it's sad too because in the main story, We learned that the more she used this ability that she used to help cure people of this ethereal asthma, the more that she is harming and eventually killing herself in the process. Besides the other side and other things as well, I was smashed. She's honestly one of a kind character. But of course, there's someone who is more stronger than her. Number 1. Let's be honest, if you know Zenless, you knew she was gonna be number 1. The Miyabi sweep is real. Alright, let's first just get her gameplay out of the way, because honestly, that's what Miyabi mostly known for. That and autism. When it comes to comparison, Miyabi get compared to the most is Virgil from Devil May Cry. The reason is because she is lore accurate. You see, Miyabi is a Void Hunter, a title only given to those that are one of the strongest and one of the best people that can help protect New Eridu. And her gameplay is insane, to the point where you literally can team her up with not only anyone, but she can go ahead and work solo and still destroy the boss like it was a piece of cake. Like here the full gameplay I can show you right now. And that's it. I literally just defeated that person in one shot. But in all seriousness though, she is insane. She have quick slashes that hit hard to honestly to unfathomable proportion. Have a charge up ability to where she can attack everyone in the radius and on screen. And have an ult that basically does the same thing, if not stronger. Overall, she is a beast. But the main gimmick about her is her element. Miyabi had this special ability of Frostburn, which is similar to ice, but when being applied, it can deal more damage to the enemy and allow the team member, including Miyabi, to deal more damage to it. And this is while it's still being applied. Once it's fully applied, then it just allows for more damage output for both Miyabi and her teams. So overall, it's just an element that make it where the enemy keeps sustaining more and more damage, even if it's just only one touch. The reason why I put Miyabi over Yunqun is because while Yunqun, it feels more like a build-up. As you keep attacking and dealing damage, the damage output gets stronger and stronger. While Miyabi, see dealing more damage output right at the start, all the way till the combat is over. And you may be thinking, okay, well, does that mean her story is lacking by any chance? No! Her story is really good! Miyabi family come from a long line of Void Hunter ever since the first expansion of Hollow Zero. And ever since then, she's been training under the care of her mother, who was originally one of the Void Hunter, but now is trying to sway her from that path. Eventually one night, Hollow Zero expanded, which caught both Miyabi and her mother in the crossfire. This would lead the mother to teach Miyabi one final lesson on how to kill Ethereal, because the mother was becoming an Ethereal. Therefore, she got Miyabi to kill her own mother. Ever since then, she would become a Void Hunter and adopted the family blade, which turned out have a curse that always takes the blood and life of a Hoshimi. And the sword that Miyabi used to kill her mother was that cursed sword. Just overall, Miyabi is just one insane creature. A creature that can cut through the hollows. A creature that is so lovable. A creature that easily sweeps Zenless Zone Zero. There we have it. My full comprehensive list. Hopefully it is comprehensive. This honestly was supposed to be a one and done quick thing, turned into an 8-month project, eventually went from being a full work to working on the sideline, to background, to potentially cancelling it altogether. Then it just went into the reverse order to then being fully worked on until it was finished. With a few help of some of my friends, to the point where even one of them made a whole list of both actual ranking and joke ranking. You can take a guess of which one is which. But god, I honestly got no clue what to say except that this video and ranking made me both appreciate and hate Zenless. There are times where doing my dailies or just game footage for this feel more like a job or a chore that you don't want to do. And there are times where it feels really appreciated and that I need to get down every single last detail that I can get in, so that way I can try to get this character represented well. This obviously doesn't mean that all characters are like this, or I only choose only my favorite one. But it does feel like at times that there's some information that feel necessary to bring up, but there are also other information that, while I wish to bring up, aren't really necessary to the video, nor to their character. I will say though, I do apologize for the long wait of just video in general due to this just taking up most of my time. So my apology to you viewers and subscribers. If I do ever plan to do another ranking video again, I'm never gonna do it on a gacha game. Let alone one that is always adding new character and not the same like 10 character what? It's on the tip of my tongue. Okay, obvious, Olympus Company. But even then, I feel like that wouldn't be a fair ranking video since not all the character stories are out. But either way, if I were to do another ranking video again, it would definitely be on something that can be on an infinite time limit. Something like a fighting game like Guilty Gear. Other than that, college is going to start for me soon. It's going to be my final year of college, and I'm going to be working on more video in the background. I should have one done by the end of next month. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I hope you all enjoy. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.